All right, welcome everybody to day 3 of the Quantum Leap Masterclass. Those of you who's been here the whole time, thank you so much for showing up and giving me your time and energy and yourself as well to walk through this process. I know there's a bajillion masterclasses out there on the internet and all kinds of content to consume, so I really am grateful that you guys are here with me. That's very much an honor for me. We talked this on Tuesday all about our foundations, and we talked about the safety and the connection. And then yesterday we talked a lot about harmonics and adjusting. And I don't know about you, but man, I had a lot of emotions coming out of myself last night. I don't know if anybody else had that experience, but I was not expecting it. So things are definitely shifting over here for me to release. And I always take that. It's hard. It's not comfortable, but it's good to get stuff out. I want to check in. How are you guys feeling after all that adjusting, crying and burping? Yeah. Yep. I had full on, like, I'm not a crier. It's never been who I am. And especially in front of other people, that's not comfortable. But last night, a bunch of stuff is coming up and just all these fears. And I went on a juice cleanse. Like, I just woke up one morning last week and decided that's what I needed to do. I'd never done one before. And I lost 5 pounds, and that's great and all. But what I realized is the weight that I had gained in the last, like, it's like COVID weight, basically. The weight that I had gained in the last 2 years was holding the stories of being alone and being by myself and being a full-time single mom, and what would happen to my kids if something happened to me. And like, all of that was in there. And so as my body was processing it all, it was coming up as all these emotions. And I was like, oh God. So I had to get all of that out. But it's interesting because, I have all this support now. I have all these people, but I'm still the kid's only legal guardian. And so there's that whole fear that came up. And so it's good to get it out and talk about it. And that's the kind of things that happen when we do these big shifts. Physical pain. Yeah. And it actually started out as physical pain for me. And that's how it always starts out. But the more I felt into what the physical pain was, it was my body trying to show me where I needed to be releasing things. That makes sense. Like it was, they were tied. And so sitting with that kind of, it was like this purging, except I had to actually feel the emotion, even though I didn't want to. So yeah, just honor your bodies, whatever it's doing right now, and give yourself some grace. Because I know for me, that was definitely challenging. I feel a little bit raw still this morning, but your feet hurt a lot after Tuesday and up until this morning. Interesting. I wonder what you're letting go through your feet. That's another space. But yeah, the feeling I was getting as I'm dropping weight again, like that's where the stories were being held. So it's like anchor points. Maybe, totally. Very interesting. So the conversation today, this is the last step, so to speak, of the quantum leap as I've understood it, as I've done it. And this is the part that really, really brings it into the physical. And brings it into this physical 3D existence here on planet Earth. And because we live a physical existence, we have to have a way to bring stuff down from this beautiful vision in our minds. After we've adjusted our bodies, after we've really anchored in what it is we're creating, we gotta create it here physically. And how we do that is through our actions. It's through the steps that we are taking. Now, if we had this conversation like a week ago, it would be a different conversation than we're going to have right now, because as the universe does, you always learn new things. And when I reflect on how I've done this in the past, I've always been an action-oriented person. Actions are the easy parts for me. I just do, and I do it harder, and eventually it will work. That's been my MO. I'm one of those people that's just amazing in a crisis, because I can shut the feelings down and I can go. And that's what I did for a long time. And when I went through my divorce, once I shifted my energy, once I had aligned to, okay, I'm creating safety, I'm creating security, I'm not going to let anything else happen. My actions were what cemented into place because I did the things, and I did the scary things. I did all the things. Any idea anybody thought of, I did it. Any idea that popped into my head out of nowhere, I did it. I called the person, I asked for help. I did the thing that they suggested and the thing that the person they suggested. And I kept going because I was in this energy of, no matter what, I want to make sure that I leave no stone left unturned. I want to make sure that for myself, I've done anything and everything possible. But the problem, and so it was successful, and I was grateful because I did do all the things, and I knew that I got to do the whole things. But when I look at that energy and I try to apply it to, say, my business, for instance, it doesn't work as well. Because if I try to apply that I'm going to do everything possible, well, you could literally do a bajillion things. Like there's too many choices, right? There's every possible kind of way you could turn your business into a thing and make dollars. And so it wasn't anything possible. It wasn't invest in every single course on the internet. It wasn't all of the mentors and all of the things. Like that doesn't work anymore, right? And so I've been sitting with, okay, so how do we shift it when we look at something different that we want to pull in? And that's why it comes back to this harmonics piece first, because we have to know what it is we're creating instead of just this arbitrary, well, but I want the dollars and I want the vision, so I have to go do 10 things at once and burn myself out. Because that's the energy that I went through my divorce with, because it was a very different scenario. But when I look at things like businesses and things like shifting and changing and bringing abundance to us, it's not about burning ourselves out anymore. It's about finding the action that acts from a different energy. And so I want to give another example here, because it hit me. I was actually talking to Justin, my husband, about his business. So he also has a business. He also does coaching. He writes books and poetry and all of that. And he hasn't made as much money as he's wanted to in his business. And it's been a pain point for him. It's been huge. It's like he's figured all these other things out, but he can't seem to crack this one. And so he takes the action. He's like, okay, I need to go do this. I need to go put more Facebook ads in for my books. And then he gets this idea, I'm going to go do Pinterest ads. And he starts doing all these Pinterest ads and he puts that out there. And then somebody else gives him an idea, and he does a meditation Monday, and he starts doing that for a little while. But every single time he does these actions, he burns out. He just goes, that wasn't fun and it's not working. And so he goes, finds a new action. But when I ask him, what do you actually want? What's in your heart to create? How do you want your business to work? And how does it feel to you? It's more this, I want to speak and I want to share my stories and I want to help people. Okay, well, is that the actions you're taking? No. Okay, why are you, right? He's taking the actions that are consistently behind the computer and safe. He's taking the actions that allow him to keep hiding, allow him to keep just doing the small step and the small work, right? He'll fuss with his website. He'll make a new thing. He'll send it to his email list, but he never steps forward and says, I have more to share. I want to do more. And what's interesting is then he did do a masterclass, and it was like the scariest thing he ever did. And it was the first time he put his story out into the world. And it was like, and he was his such different energy, and it terrified him, and it still didn't actually create income for him, but it felt different. Like he all of a sudden could feel what he was stepping into in a different way. And he had to actually be in it and take the action there to start to feel the shift and change. Because every time he would go back to just taking the action of, the Facebook ad or the whatever, that never felt like it shifted anything. And so it's nuanced. This action part isn't just do the things over and over and over again until eventually it works, because it's not just any action. That's the hard part. It's not just do the whatever. It's do the thing that's hard. Do the thing that scares you. Do the thing that lights up that, oh my God, I'm kind of terrified and excited at the same time. That action. The action that pushes your buttons, that makes you get a little sweaty and, am I really going to do this? Oh my God, I'm really going to do this. That action. That's the action that unlocks new energy. That action allows you to really step into that aligned place, because as we sit here and we harmonize ourselves and we release the things, it isn't until we act from that place, really take a step in that direction, that we start to actually manifest it here. Because we can't, it doesn't exist in the physical until it exists in the physical. And that's what we have to do. We bring it down into our bodies, and then we create and we start to birth it out and take action from that energy. And so this is where I think people can get tripped up, is they're like, well, what do I do? You'll know. It's one of the things you have to trust here, because the action comes from within yourself. And it comes from that feeling of, oh, I know this is the thing. It's the feeling I have every time I think about releasing my book out into the wild. My book that carries the biggest trauma of my life in great detail. It includes me getting an abortion. It includes me staying with my husband for a couple of years, even after his arrest. It includes all of the truth of finding out all of the gory, disgusting, horrible details. And it includes all of the family court stuff. It includes all of the things. And putting that detail out into the wild for all of the world to see and judge and have the opinion about, that's fucking terrifying. But that's the action I know that's going to unlock things. Because if my goals are to sit here and make impact on the planet, well, how am I going to do that? I'm not going to do that just sitting behind my computer, sharing my life and my stories. I mean, small, yes, I'm going to impact, of course, and it's going to ripple and it's going to change. But if I want to make big change, which is what my heart says, I got to do the big thing, right? I got to step out and do the big thing, the scary thing. And I got to do it in spite of the fear, because that's the thing. When we jump up into these actions, that's when we start to bump up against those emotions, the fear, the uncertainty, the unknown, the I don't know if I can, the one that I run sometimes is who the fuck do I think I am to do that? Like, really, who am I? I don't have all these certifications or degrees or things. I'm just me. But the truth is, who am I not to do it? If it's in my heart, if I feel it, it's there. I have to. There are people waiting for me to do it. I need to. And so those actions, those things, those are the things we have to take the action from. And this is why, right here is why the foundations are so important that we start with. Because when we get to this point and we find the thing that's terrifying us, if we don't have a foundation and safety, it's going to be really, really hard to take that action. Your body will stop you. Your body will say, we can't do that. No, we can't do that. It's not safe. And you will stop and you will shift and you will go, okay, I gotta solve a different problem. I gotta go a different direction. And that's why that root of safety in ourselves matters first. That's why knowing you have support no matter what matters, because we get to this point, we get to this action step, and we can choose. We choose here. Do we push through? Do we push through the fear? Do we push through the uncertainty and the unknown? Do we trust ourselves and know we're okay either anyway, no matter what? And do we take that action, and do we go to the other side and see what's there? And even if the thing we want isn't directly on the other side of this action, do we trust that it's coming because we're going in that direction? And so it's about consistent, regular action for like sometimes months, sometimes longer. When I shifted my energy to decide that I was gonna allow no other outcome in my divorce, I already had a court hearing scheduled. So that bear in mind, but it was 6 weeks from that moment that I had full custody. And then another 6 weeks after that was the last time we ever heard from him. And so like that was fast in the grand scheme of things. Was it a really freaking hard 6 weeks? Yeah. Did I push through an intense amount of fear and anxiety and total unknown turmoil? Absolutely, I did. But I did it because I had to. That was the only outcome I was going to allow. And it happened fast. Time collapsed and it happened fast. When I decided I needed to leave Colorado and I needed to go somewhere else, and I wanted connection, I needed support, and I was chasing this, I had to take some actions like sell my house. And I did so without any know for sure where we were going to end up. And I had to trust. But the day we left Colorado, 10 days later, I met Justin. 10 days. And I didn't even know I was searching for a person. Didn't even know I was doing that. But I was calling in my home. I was calling in my people, and that's what arrived. And it happened very, very fast, and it changed the entire trajectory of where I was going and what was happening. And so it took some time to jigger it all out in the human world, but in reality, it collapsed fast. But was I scared? Absolutely. I had three kids that 100% relied on me and all my stuff and all my pets and all my things. And all of a sudden we were going to move to a new freaking country. Like, that's scary. How do I do that? Right? I had to push through the fear and the unknown and is this going to work? Does this make sense? And I had to push through, and I had to choose the action that aligned to what I was going to create. Another story I have last year about in the summer, before I knew I was going to move, I knew I needed to move. I had decided that for a while, but I was still in Colorado, and the way the world society is set up, that in order to get a traditional mortgage, at least in the States, you need regular W-2 full-time employment income. And I didn't have that. I had less than 2 years of self-employed income, and it wasn't even all that awesome. And I had savings, and I had equity in my current house. And so it wasn't that I couldn't pay a mortgage. I just didn't have the traditional lineup of things. And so in my mind, I was like, okay, well, I guess I could get a job. I mean, I don't want a job, but maybe that's the appropriate step to take so that I can qualify for a new mortgage. We can move. If I hate the job, I'll quit later. Because you only need to be employed for 30 days to get a mortgage. It's very ridiculous that that's even a requirement at all, but that's the way it is. And so I sat with that, and I was sitting in this feeling of needing to be safe, right? I was needing to be safe. We needed a home. I was sitting in the fact that I didn't have a secure income. I was working part-time for a nonprofit, and I was getting some income, but I was not spending less than I was making by any means. And so I figured out where I thought I wanted to move, and I started applying for jobs. And I thought, this is the safe action. This makes sense, right? This makes sense to have stability first, and then we'll sort it all out. And I even went as far as applying for jobs, getting an interview, and even being offered a job. Being offered a job where they went to bat for me to get as much money as possible because I was overqualified for the job that I had applied for. And so they came to me with an offer. It was about an $80,000 a year job. And I sat with it and I went, I don't want a job. I sat with that going, yeah, it feels like I'm going backwards. That's what it felt like. It felt like I was pulling myself away from all the stuff I had been working towards. But I was like, but I need a house. The logic in me said, I need to do this to set up the safety and security for myself and my kids. So yeah, what do I do here? And I sat with it, and I sat with it, and I sat with it. And I just decided at that moment that I had to trust myself again. I had to remember that in me and here, I needed to trust me first. And if it didn't feel good, if it didn't feel like it was aligned to what I was creating, there was going to be another way. And so I turned that job down. And I turned around and launched my first set of courses, and I made $17,000, just like that. And I have yet to have a launch that was that successful. But on the back end of me turning down that offer, that's what happened. It was the universe being like, see, you can do this. This is fine. This is no big deal. And it was 2 sets of courses, and they ran for 16 weeks. And so in the grand scheme of the 4 months, it wasn't tons of money, but it was proof that I could actually put something out there that people wanted, that they would pay for, and I could actually make some income. And so it's not the easy action. It's not just doing all the things as fast and as hard as you possibly can. It's finding the action that scares you, that makes it uncomfortable, but is heading you in the direction of your dream. It's heading you in the direction of that vision that we saw yesterday of all of the things that you're calling in, because it isn't the same thing you've always done. Because when we act from the same way we always do every day, when we do the same things over and over and over again, what's changing? Not much, right? We continue to do it over and over and over again, and we do the same thing. When we take actions from new energy, we take different actions, that's when things start to change. When we say, I'm done with this way of doing and operating, this isn't serving what I'm creating anymore. This way of thinking, this way of behaving, these choices I'm making don't serve this creation I'm birthing into the world. That's when we act differently. And truly, all of the healing and clearing, all of the releasing and lightening and all of that doesn't fully go until we cement in a new action. It really doesn't. It makes it easier. It makes it a little lighter to think clearly. But until we act from new energy, until we take steps forward, it doesn't fully leave. And so I don't know if you've ever had a healing session or anything, you've done a bunch of work on yourself and you feel great. You go about your day and then you do the same things you've always done. And then the next day you're kind of like, oh, I feel the same again. It's back. What happened? It's because you brought it all back. You didn't do anything different. You didn't change. You didn't act. You didn't create from new energy. You didn't say, I'm going to actually fully step into this new place. And so that's why this step is so important and one of the hardest for some people to actually hold, because it's not one action. When we're going to leap into an entirely new thing, it's not one action that does it. It's consistent action with new energy, new things that push those buttons that are uncomfortable, that are those things. I think people say it takes, 21 days to make a new habit or something in your system. I think that's the running number. And to me, it's at least like 6 weeks of really consistent change for you to really get like, no, this is how I'm operating now. I'm not doing it like this anymore. Doing that action consistently for a period of time is what will shift it. That's the step here. It's not the small thing. It's not just the one thing. It's over and over again, coming back to trust, coming back to self, coming back to what it is you're feeling, what it is creating, what is the gravity of what you were holding, and finding the action from there. Trusting that the uncomfortable action is often the right one. Not always. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes you get an easy one. That's good. But often the uncomfortable action, that's the one you got to leap into. That's the step. And you got to really trust yourself. I've talked before about fear and what fear looks like in a body and why it's so important that we have that anchor of safety and self, because we hit this fear often in our lives. We hit some fear, some outside fear, something happens or somebody says something, or even if it's just fear of the unknown of us doing something, and it hits our body and it hits that this isn't safe. It hits the fight or flight response. It triggers our adrenals. It triggers all of that stuff in our bodies. And so, but when you really look at fear and you look at what fear intended for us to do as a human in a human body, fear didn't intend to freeze us. Fear didn't intend to send us back hiding. I mean, sometimes, perhaps, just for a moment. But what fear actually is intending to spark in us is movement, action, acceleration. That's what fear is in our bodies and our systems. It's telling you this isn't safe. Go, move, change what you were doing, because this isn't working anymore. And everybody who wants the acceleration, who wants the change, who wants the leap into the new world, that's how we get it. We face those fears, we face the uncomfortable, and we go anyway. And we push through, we take a deep breath and we do it anyway. And we trust ourselves and we pick ourselves up. We pick ourselves up. If it doesn't work this time, and we go, I'm still okay. I did it. I'm okay. And now I'm going to do it again. And this time I'm going to do it again with new awareness, and I'm going to have new information, and I'm going to step forward in a new way. And I'm going to keep going, because I know this is the thing. Whatever the thing is, whatever you're creating, I know that I have to keep moving. and I have to keep moving in this direction in order to receive it. And this step, this piece here, I think is probably the one that sets apart in a lot of ways the people who change really fast and the people who don't. The people who are willing to try and make mistakes and course correct and change and just keep going versus the people who sit and I won't act until I know exactly the perfect guaranteed step. Because that's the other thing. I don't know how many times I've had the conversation with people where they're like, but I want a guarantee. I want to know for sure when I take this step, I'm going to get the thing. Then I'll do it. Well, wouldn't we all love that if we knew for sure we did the scary thing and then we could have our dreams? It would be totally fine and work out and we could have our dreams. That's not how life works. And truly, even where you are today, even the place that you're standing today, you don't have guarantees. You don't have guarantees that it's going to always be like this. Nobody does. Nobody has a guarantee about anything. And so they don't exist. But what you do have is yourself. You have you have your heart, you have your dreams, and you have the trust and faith in you to take steps towards them every single day. And this is why it's so important to come back to self. So important to trust in yourself, because that's all you truly do have. You have connections and support, yes, but every action, every step, every piece comes from here, from what you're anchoring in, from what you're doing. And trusting that is what gets you through those uncomfortable pieces. I feel like some people are having some throat things with some of this because I feel it. Oh my goodness, I need some water. So there are many, many, many fears that come up when we think about anchoring into action. We think about how do we do this, and the fear of being seen, the fear of speaking, the fear of being disappointed. That's actually a huge one. I'm in another masterclass that's playing right now that I've been watching, and she was talking about the fear of disappointment as the feminine wound, which is different perspective to look at it all as masculine versus feminine. But the disappointment piece is actually what stops so many people from progressing. They don't want it to not work out again. They don't want it to continue to be mediocre. So they just, it's good enough as it is. Why bother? Why bother taking action and putting it into place if nothing's going to really change anyway? Well, I mean, truly, nothing will change if you keep on that behavior. If you keep thinking it that way, it definitely won't change. And so allowing yourself to feel the feelings of the disappointment, and feel the feelings of it not working out, and feeling the feelings of all of the times you did try and it didn't work like you wanted. Because we hold on to that and we push it down and we don't want to look at it. But if we can express it and release it and move past it and go, okay, what if instead of seeing it as it didn't work out all those times, so why bother? What if we look at all of those times it didn't work out? It's because we still needed to learn something. We still needed to learn something about what we actually wanted, who we were, what was good for us and what wasn't, what truly mattered to our hearts. Everything that has happened till this point has happened for you for some reason. Some reason it has brought you here today. And for you now, from this place, you can take action differently. And it will happen differently because you're in different energy. And we have to trust that, no, it's not going to look exactly like we think. No, it's not going to happen just exactly like our dream. When I was going through my divorce, I didn't even think it was possible for him to go away completely. That didn't even make sense. And so the best I hoped for was supervised visitation and protections in place for my kids. That's what I hoped for. But I also was terrified of taking my kid's dad away. And so when he literally pieced out and chose not to participate in their lives at all, I was surprised and shocked. It was like, where's the other shoe that's going to drop? Like, what's going on? I don't understand. And that it's because my actions held so strong that I was creating safety, and I was not gonna do anything else, that everything just shifted. It was like it felt like he almost went into a whole different dimension. Like he's not here. And I was so grateful. And I was so like, but what I didn't do for a very long time is process all of the emotions and the disappointments of all of the time I did have. It didn't work out because there was many, many, many times before that it didn't work out. All of the things and the years that we went through where I would say something or things would happen and I would bring it to authorities. I would bring it forward to the courts and nothing happened. And so I had been holding on to all of that in my body and my system and needing to let that go so that I could then take new action to create something else, because I was still holding on to those fears. And so if you get to the point where you're like, I know what my action is. Okay, it's scary. I can do it. I'm ready. Let's do it. And you take steps and emotion comes forward or things happen that you don't expect. That's okay. That's another thing happening for you. That we get to honor that and we get to go, wow, thank you, body. Thank you for showing me that I have more to release here. And now I can take another action again, because your body is constantly communicating with you all of this stuff. It's constantly showing you what's going on, whether it's showing up as physical pain, whether it's showing up as emotion, whether it's showing up as, I can't yet. Why not? Why not? What's the story in our head? What's going on? We have to go back again to safety. We go back to safety, because this isn't a linear process. Like, yes, there's step 1, 2, 3 here, but it's not actually a linear process, because nothing is linear in this world. Because we get safety, we get anchored, we call in connections, we call in support, we harmonize, we bring it in and we take an action, and then something happens and we got to go back to safety. We got to go back to safety and we got to anchor back there and we got to remind ourselves we're okay. It's okay. What are we doing? Okay. And so it's almost like it's more circular than it is linear. It's not one step and we're done. It's this evolving process, because we're constantly evolving in what we're doing. We're constantly leaping into new energies and new things. You know, it was Sarah who sent me messages about things already shifting and changing since stepping into this masterclass. And she sees every time she acts from a new energy, almost unconsciously, she's like, oh, I quantum leaped again. I got new things. And I love that perspective, because it's a constant way of inviting more shift and change into her life. Every time things worked out easier and different, she's celebrating it. And so we have to remember to look at that and celebrate ourselves and go, okay, I did this differently and things change and I can see it. I can see it working. I can see it happening. And if it isn't happening yet, there's a reason. There's a reason for it, and I have to trust it. When I woke up, when I was moving and all of that, and then I woke up in Banff that very first morning, and my house that I was trying to buy in Oregon, the loan vanished. So I had left, I had not done a job, right? And so I was only trying to get loans from self-employment, and I had found one magical place that gave me a pre-approval for a loan. And I put an offer on a house. It was accepted. It was the day we left Colorado. I was so excited. It's like, oh, okay, this is going to work. I knew this was going to work. It's going to be great. And then I went to the workshop in Banff, and I woke up that morning, the very first morning I was there, and I got an email. Underwriting had denied my loan. All of a sudden, in the middle of it all, like, underwriting denied my loan. And I was like, shit, what am I going to do now? I knew I couldn't get another loan. I had tried so many different things. I could have chosen to beat myself up about not taking that job. I could have chosen to try to find a new job. I could have chosen to totally panic and try to find rentals or do all kinds of stuff, but that's not what I did. I sat with it. I took a deep breath and I said, I'm going to enjoy this workshop. and I'm going to trust that I'm going to figure out, and the right place will find me. And for some reason, this is happening for me. For some reason, there's a reason that I'm going to trust, because energetically, I know the loan would have stayed approved, even if I didn't really meet the qualifications, because I live in magic land where that's how things work. It's not black and white here. And so because that didn't happen, there's a reason. There's a reason, and I have to trust it. And so then 3 days later, Justin and I connected, and I went, oh, maybe that's why, because I'm not supposed to be there. That's why. Now, how the hell am I going to do? Because my kids and my stuff are there, but I can figure that out. Right. And so the 3 days of panic, I didn't have to go through. I mean, it was definitely in the back of my mind because my kids were with my mom in Oregon in an Airbnb. I literally had 1 day after I landed to renew and figure out where we were going to live. But I knew it would be fine, whether we ended up in a hotel room or whatever, it was going to be fine, because things were shifting. Things were shifting for me. Things were not working out for me. There was a reason, and I had to trust it, and I had to keep acting and moving, and I had to go back to my center, and I had to go, okay, connection and community. Where is that? Is that in Oregon? Actually, why did I think that? Doesn't matter. That's what I thought. It's not there anymore. That's not where I need to be. How do I take action from here? What do I do next? What do I do next that feels good? For me, the next step was, okay, now I got to figure out what to do with my stuff, because I had a 4-bedroom house worth of stuff showing up in Oregon, and all of a sudden I didn't have a house to put it in. And so I found an Airbnb rental that I had a garage I could use. And I had the movers put all of my stuff in the garage, so I could just have it there. And I could be in the Airbnb, and we could go through it again and go through all of my stuff that I had literally just moved from Colorado. And I pared all of it down. I got rid of so much. And as I sat in that garage, I realized how much stuff I was still holding on to that was tied to my old life. And I had so much stuff that was literally weighing me down, tied to my old life. And that was actually why I was in Oregon. I was in Oregon because I had to leave Colorado to understand, and I had to shed so many things. I had things that were still wedding presents from my ex-husband. Like, I had things that were gifted to the both of us still, because, they were nice dishes. I didn't get rid of them, but they held energy. They held things. And so I had to get rid of them. I actually broke a few of them on purpose, like just shedding and releasing that energy. It was very liberating, actually. Have you ever broken dishes on concrete? It's kind of amazing. And I had to release all of that. I had this huge burning party. I burned old photos. I still had wedding invitations and like all of that. I released all of it, and I pared our stuff down to an 8x5 trailer, so I could fit everything me and the 3 children could own into an 8x5 trailer, so I could cross the border and not be appearing to be moving here, because I was going to cross as a tourist. But I had to do all of that. And that's why the loan didn't work out. That's why the things happened and blew up in my face, because there was a reason. And so every time we take an action and it doesn't work like we think it's going to work, we got to come back to trust, and we got to come back to our safety, and we got to rely on the people around us. We got to anchor back into what we're doing and making sure that there's nothing we are doing within ourselves that are blocking us. And then we got to find the next action. And it's this consistent time that we go through. New action, try again. Okay, come back to ourselves and do it again. That's how we make these big changes. That's how I've changed my life multiple times in the last 2 years, is consistency and trusting, always coming back. Excuse you, you're being rude, Sunny. And always coming back to trusting. Yes, I know, you want to say hi. Always coming back to trusting myself, trusting what I'm doing, trusting how I'm shifting and moving it and putting it into action, into this physical existence, because that's all there is to it. We talk about all of these timeline jumpings and all of this beautiful stuff in the quantum and all of it, and it's wonderful to play there, but this is the reality we're in. This is the existence that truly matters. And it's taken a lot of years of exploring to recognize how important this timeline is. This one right here that we're experiencing, how truly multidimensionally connected this timeline is, and how much it matters what we do and how we do it here. And so we can use all of the tools, we can bring all of the quantum, we can bring all of the aliens and all of that into it. It's great, but it doesn't matter if we don't do anything with it here. It doesn't matter if it doesn't change our reality here. None of it matters until we bring it and we put it into action to actually help shift this planet here. This is the point. How can you live your best life here and inviting and inspiring and sparking other people to then live their best lives? That's the kind of change I want to make in the world. Is I want to say, this isn't about how amazing I am up in the stars. This is about what I'm doing here and how I'm bringing all of this new possibility to people here, right? Because that's the goal, at least from my perspective, that's the goal, is to really inspire humanity. And how do we do that? By acting ourselves different, by showing people, no matter what we've been through, no matter how hard, no, how bad it's been, we are where we are today, and we can change it again. And we don't have to hit rock bottom. I mean, we used to, it seems, a lot of people, I certainly did. I had to really be terrified out of my mind to change and do differently, but I don't have to anymore. Excuse you, I know, but growling at the door is not helping. Thank you. Getting to rock bottom and getting to the place where you have no choice but to act, that's why that works. That's why there's those catalyst moments where people are backed into the corner. They're backed into the corner and they're basically told, choose, you have to choose. You can't keep doing this anymore. It's forcing the action. And that forcing the action does get them to change. It does do the acceleration, because they're like, okay, fine, I'm not ready to leave. I'm not ready to peace out of this planet. So now I have to choose and I have to do differently. And that does sparks the awakening, it sparks the acceleration, because they choose finally. But you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait to be backed into a corner to choose the acceleration now. You just have to take the action now before it backs you into a corner. Essentially, you get to choose to take the uncomfortable action, even if you're not in that super uncomfortable place today. You can choose to put yourself in the uncomfortable next step before it gets worse, before it gets to that point. You can say, I'm pretty safe, I'm pretty secure, I'm pretty good. Why would I mess this up? Okay, well, that's a choice, but you're not going to create this new life from that way of operating. You're not messing anything up. You might shake things up. Yeah. But you're inviting you're inviting possibility. You're bringing forward the things you truly want. And the amount of learning and inspiration along the way, that's the magic. That's the magic. That's the new awareness. That's the the ahas that get to come from those experiences. Change who you are, change what you want, change your understanding of self. Right. And so I would love for people to get to the point where they no longer get backed in the corner. They no longer need that. And they can say, I want different now. I want different now. So I'm going to choose different now, even if that does kind of shake things up in my comfort zone, because my comfort zone doesn't give me safety anymore. I give myself safety. My comfort zone is it's just mediocre, and that's not who I am. That's not what I want. Not anymore. I want something bigger. And if I want something bigger, I've got to change. So I've got to go for it. And that's the beauty of this, is when I realized if I could create safety and security, and I could create connection, and I could create community, and I could do all of that in a matter of just a couple of years, that I could do anything. That's how I took that. If I could create all of this, I could literally do anything. And I realized that not only can I do anything, but anybody can do anything if they believe in themselves, if they trust themselves, if they are ready to step into that level and layer and just act from that place and to trust from that place, anybody could do anything. And that to me is beautiful. So that's what I got for you guys today. I feel like I could just go on and on and on. Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything else grounding in this idea? Take action. Does anybody know or want to share what their action is, what they know they need to do next? Because everybody's is going to be different. I would love to know. I would love to know if anybody has any ideas of what that thing is for themselves, what they want to birth and what that step is, especially as we've been sitting through these last couple of days. I would love to hear. I see people typing. Going live with your readings. Yes. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Putting yourself out there. Love it. I love seeing people like put themselves forward and this is who I am. This is what I do. It can be scary, especially if you're doing it by yourself and you've always done it with other people. I have some Sandra Cook plates I would like to donate to a positive cause. Thought about that this morning. Yeah, love it. Okay. It's time to get rid of it. Oh, my ears are ringing. There's something in that. Interesting. I wrote a song back in 2020. I didn't put it out there, but formed a group to perform it. Ew. Interesting. Opening my throat chakra and finally releasing my new course. Yes. Yes. Love these actions. Love it. So this is the point where we get to commit to ourselves. This is where we get to say, okay, I know what I need to do. And I'm going to commit to me. I'm going to honor me and my dreams, and I'm going to do the thing. It might not happen overnight, but I'm going to keep taking action and doing it. I'm going to do it even when it's scary. I'm going to keep doing it because I have to do this for me. Putting self first, especially those of us who are mothers, that's one of the very hardest things we ever do. We have to make time for our dreams and the actions for us. This is so important. Doing the things that you know you need to do, and then inviting the next action. Okay, next action from the new energy. What's next? What am I going to do next? How am I going to move forward next? In this class, what's changed is I'm feeling called to just perform it alone. Woo! I love it. I want it. When you do it, I want you to share it. I want to see it. That's amazing. Yes. Just putting yourself, like, be on the stage. I love it. Oh, I get like all the goosies. I love it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Putting yourself out there and seeing what happens. Right. And there's so many like TikTok artists these days putting their songs out there and getting all kinds of things. And it's a really fun new way that music is finding its way into the world, actually, because you don't need anybody's approval to put your songs on the TikTok, right? You just have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. So I love it. Performing it alone and recording it and sharing it with the world. It's beautiful. Oh, perfect. I love it. So the next thing I want to do is, if there's anybody here who feels like you need more support, if you want to stay in this energy and you need more support to continue to stay here, then I would love for you to book a call or message me to see if you want to work together. If you want to work together in a period of a month, 6 weeks, longer, if you just want to have messenger support, I have all of the options. What I realized is I can't put myself in a box or anybody else in a box, and everybody's individual with where they are and what they want. And so it's going to be completely customizable to whatever your particular needs are. If that's something that you are called to do, I will put, oh, that's not the link I thought it was, the link to book a call with me, if that's what you want. And and you have access to these replays as well. If those of you who bought it should have it in my Kajabi, so you can continue to rewatch these as well. But if you want some one-on-one support to help hold this container, to help have somebody cheerleader you, to have somebody help you find the things that you're missing, or to push you a little bit when you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. You absolutely are welcome to do so. I would love to work with more. I have so much information coming through about how I can myself impact people, but the biggest piece is supporting others also wanting to put their stuff out there, because that's the ripple we make, right? So if anybody's called to do so, I would love to chat further. And if this feels complete for you, then I hope you got everything you desired to receive from this and more. And if you have anything else you would like to share, or a testimonial on this class, I would love to hear it and use it, because I will be reselling these replays later as well. So if you have anything to share, I would love to have that. And if not, I will see you guys all in the Facebook group, in the Facebooks, and I'm sure I will be doing more of these on some different topic in the near future. So thank you guys so much for showing up and giving me your time and energy, as much as your attention and everything else. And I know how easy it is to get lost in all of the Facebook masterclasses and all of the things. So thank you so much for showing up here these 3 days. It has been an honor to share my stories and my journey with you all. Okay. Thank you guys. So much fun. Okay. Thank you.